Okay, folks, Radio FM88 Australia. We're broadcasting here in Brisbane, Australia. And that's me down the bottom here. We're obviously in the Southern Hemisphere. So all our other guests tonight are in the Northern Hemisphere. And of course, my co-host is right at the very top there where she should be. That's her, Andrena. And she's organised these two interesting gentlemen tonight. So we're going to come and share the dream. It's about jumping out of the game of Monopoly. So if you've been caught up in Monopoly and you want to get out of Monopoly, well, just leave the game and have a listen to these fellas. So I think we're going to be in for a really interesting night tonight. It's over to you, Andrena.
Hi, well, welcome everybody. And for those that are listening to the replay later on and live, we are Thursday the 28th of April 2022. And it's my pleasure to we've got a dynamic duo this evening. So instead of just being three of us, we've got four. So we're expanding out. So I'd like to introduce Rick Jewers, who's in the middle, and Lee Mudway at the top.
Close enough.
And we're going to talk about GPMS, which is the Global People's Monetary System. And hoping after today that you're going to get lots more people signing up and voting for the way forward. So I'm going to just hand it over to you guys because I know bits and I've signed the treaty and love what you're doing. So this is why I really felt happy to share and put you here so you can enlighten others about the journey. So it all start and unfold.
Well, which one are you going to pick? Any money? No. Who are you going to pick, Rick or Lee?
I said Rick.
Oh, did you really?
Oh,
sorry.
Hello, okay. Is there anybody there?
Well, thank you, Andrena and Jeff, for having us here on the show. In this most glorious, auspicious time upon the planet, I must say. So these are unprecedented times, and just to give, let's say, a quick explanation of what GPMS is. The time has come on the planet for humanity to evolve forward into, let's say, at least a more civilized state. So what GPMS is basically the vehicle to collect the voice through the votes of agreement by the people worldwide to create and distribute money in a way that is a good tool for all of humanity. So we are changing the old ways that it was. It no longer serves. So we are in this great time to get humanity united as one voice and do what is good and right for all. So one of the greatest benefits of GPMS, once the worldwide majority is on board with this, there are things no longer like debt, deprivation. Everyone has more than enough. So what I wish to say is that GPMS, what it basically has done is flip the tables on the old control of money and place the power in the people's hands to use money as the good tool that uplifts all. So GPMS eradicates from the planet, upon inception, all financial stress and much more. So to keep it simple for now.
Brilliant, yeah. And I think that for some is a hard one to get their head around, that to be debt free and not, play the game. Because it's stepping outside of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we need to look at, we are the creators. If, money would not exist if humanity was not here. So humanity as a whole has the choice of how they wish to create and use money. And it is nonsense the way that it was created and used in the past. one of the things I like to say, it is absolutely not acceptable that 10 to 15,000 children each day around the world die of starvation. Like, that is savage. And let's say with this, there is more than enough money. It can be created to infinity. And also, there is more than enough food and also the venues and the technology to grow more than enough food worldwide for everyone. And so it's absolute nonsense, the old. And we are in the time for the new. And all it takes is the people coming together, uh, putting their support into this GPMS and choosing the most humane ways to take humanity forward.
Brilliant. And I know you've got quite a following already, haven't you, of people signed up. Is it all around the world? I know you've got in quite a few countries it's running.
Yes, indeed. We rather say that this is a unity rather than a following. And it's the time of uniting the peoples worldwide with, again, the one common goal. So it is growing rapidly. And, I tend to use this demonstration with the hands that we're collecting the voice. We're in the bottleneck, if you will, at any point, ready for it to fan out and go to virality. So, right at this stage with GPMS, we are in what you call phase one of spreading the awareness of the choice to all of humanity. Lee, do you wish to add something there, brother?
I'm not sure what to add at this point, brother. You covered it pretty well with some questions on it. And thank you, Andrena and Jeff, for the invite.
Yeah, can I just ask, how did it start? Where's the starting point for GPMS? Or how long ago did you get given the, guided or the information to get this up and running?
Okay, well, thank you. And to keep that short, of course, you could write many books on this. So, to keep it short, approximately about 12 years ago, I was awakened to who I am and the mission upon the planet. And having said that, at that time, um, it was showing how everything upon the planet was corrupt, how it was no longer serving humanity, how it was creating uh, misery and all of these things. So, with that, at that time, if you will, if you like to say, when I awakened, I spoke to Father, Prime Creator, God, if you will. And with that, it became totally clear what my mission was upon the planet. So, let's say approximately 12 years ago is when this began. And between then and now, there's been a steady course, if you will, of revelations, of disclosure of all of the insidious deeds and, let's say, what was controlling um, the people upon the planet. So there was a huge revealing to the people of what was wrong, and also now we are showing what is right with GPMS. So this plan, uh, in, let's say, consultation directly with Father, it is the plan, the ultimate divine plan, if you wish to add that level into it, to completely free humanity and take them out of the savagery. So it was written up, the divine plan, and anyone that looks at it, you can see it's all inclusive for humanity. It is concrete, there is no loopholes in it because it is a divine instrument to transition humanity very quickly forward and out of the savagery. So it's been handwritten, if you will, by I. But again, it's not extensively detailing how everything will work, for it takes all of humanity together. And with all of humanity with the one common goal and the good intentions, all of the skill set is here to advance humanity forward. And it's contained within all of the individual higher consciousness and divine ones that are placed upon the planet at this time to facilitate this swift transition, if that answers the question.
Mm-hmm. Right. Perhaps we'll ask Lee now. So where did you come into this, Lee? How did that come about?
So again, thank you. Thanks for the invite to come on. Just to add to what Rick was talking about, when you asked about Inception, it was 2020, sort of late 2020 when this sort of first came to the table. So I think Rick wrote it up in around about June 2020, or had the chat for that sort of time. And actually the website went live in March 2021, March the 17th. So it's been running for just over a year live online, collecting the voice of the people. For me, I've been cajoling the idea of civilization as non-civil for a long time, and that the disparity was untenable, that you can't have those that have and those that haven't, and it was getting more and more and more obvious for quite a wee while. And I couldn't really see past something going quite awry, let's put it that way. When this thing hit a couple of years ago, a lot of information came out very, very quickly that divinely I was led to, and it showed the complete manipulation of the monetary system as is, or as was. A lot of, well, no, all of the falsities, if you like, or a lot of the falsities that were going on, and it became very, very evident that that was not going to remain intact. So then it was quite obvious to me to look for something that was going to replace it. And of course, you fall down the route of the alternative media's GCRs, RVs, Nizara, Jizara ideas, concepts, and this idea. But very, very quickly for me, they became mute as well, because they used the word basic. And by this universal basic income and these basic ideas and these concepts that keep everybody looping on the hamster wheel. So having looked into it a little bit more and the information coming to me, it was obvious that there was more to this. And we got a mutual friend in Canada called Randy, and he's running in the high levels of the bank system, and he was explaining what the upper levels of the above top secret levels, if you like, of the bank system was working like. It became obvious that there was going to be something else that was absolutely inclusive, and we could remove the words basic from. No human soul deserves anything basic in this experience. So these ideas and these concepts of bones from the table, scraps from the table of the elite, just didn't sit with me. And I knew Rick, I knew of Rick, and I knew Randy knew Rick, and there was this sort of interconnection or synchronicity that went on. And I didn't have the certification to be involved in the banking system, so I couldn't help Randy, but I could help Rick. So I got involved just before Christmas, I think, November-ish, 2020. After doing a few interviews with Randy and a few educational interviews about what is, I got involved with GPMS and jumped in on that, thinking it was, I didn't know what to think it was, to be honest with you. So we've been organically, that's the word, organically populating and organically creating, if you want, the GPMS instrument over the last year, and people have been joining, aligning, and it's all been very, very interesting, fascinating. Did we anticipate that more would jump on straight away? Yes, but it is what it is. So we keep putting the message out that there is this worldwide referendum. It's just a vote. Would you like a change? Would you like to take ownership and control of all of the systems that are used to create suppression, and try to use them in a benevolent way as opposed to a malevolent way? And that's the simple question that GPMS poses. All it takes is your consent. And as the voice grows, we create the voice. The shareholders of everything come together, and we have a shareholders meeting and re-envision the world. It's effectively what GPMS is.
Mm.
Hopefully that answers the question, Andrena.
Yeah, yeah, because obviously it's always nice to know you know, people's journey and what's brought them to this point now. So I know I did read out a question from a viewer. Perhaps Jeff could read that one out again, that she'd sent in. Right, so where are we? Is this connected to wethepeople.com, which addresses United Nations to upgrade its profile and positive action and change? I can't see the rest. Hang on. And truly represent what the people want.
I can answer that quickly and say no, it's not. GPMS is not
That was
affiliated.
quick.
Yeah, it's not affiliated or connected to any of the old system, because none of the old system needs affiliation or connection. It doesn't need correction. It needs re-envisioning. It needs repopulating and shedding the surplus or the superfluous fluff. United Nations to represent what the people really want. I don't think that's its initial task, the United Nations. I don't think it ever was designed to represent what the people really want. So, no, we don't. The United Nations is a mute subject because it won't. It's unnecessary. Nobody needs it. So, no, we don't affiliate. We were speaking to the World Passport Agency or Authority the other day, and we talked about affiliation then. And to be honest with you, it's much easier to say unity. So we unite as opposed to affiliate. So there's no affiliations. There's no requirement for it. There's just unity. And as more come together, the voice grows.
So what's been your best way of getting this message out? Because obviously this is a powerful system and message that you're putting out to everybody on the planet, isn't it? So you got people think, oh, you know, don't agree or what have you, and that's fine. But what is your simplest way for people to understand? Because a lot of people said to me, oh, is this Bitcoin or is this coin jar or, you know, all of them things? And I said, no, it's nothing to do with that. So, and I think, you know, when people see a monetary system, straight away they're going into all of these other systems that are not in alignment with where you're at.
I'll answer that first, if you like. Let's put in a quick outline of what GPMS is. GPMS is a vote initially to choose to take guardianship of all existing systems, governmental, financial, media, internet, and all of these. The people take ownership of that. What GPMS says is it unlimits the monetary system, so there is no debt. There is no debt. There never was, but there is going to be. It was always a credit system, so it implements that credit system and puts the value inside the individual. So everybody pays themselves. Nobody's paid. Your value is within you, and you choose to use that value within the system, if you like. So we all create together for each other, but we're creating for ourselves. GPMS initially has a limit on it of 12,000-ish, let's say, dollars upfront for every man, woman, and child. So as soon as inception comes in, everybody receives that. It's not GPMS giving it to them; it's their choice to take it. It then says something around the region of $6,000 per month for every man, woman, and child. This then unlimits. So that cap is only there in the beginning to allow for non-stagnation and growth as the transition from GPMS into whatever will be starts. But what GPMS also does is allocates a divine natural law to the systems as well, because the existing, let's say, legal and lawful structures are, let's say, not fit for purpose, without going into too much detail on that yet. They've shown themselves to be unfit, manipulable, and malevolent to the extreme. So they get bypassed into divine natural law, which brings in unalienable rights. So the people are actually choosing to allocate the sovereign rights to each other or to ourselves, unalienable rights, rights which cannot be contracted and cannot be given away or taken away. They are unalienable. They've always been there, yet they're not there. So it just shows you exactly how much the old system has taken away the sovereignty of the divine souls on the planet. So sovereignty by etymology meaning above authority, then we've got to re-envision the structures that have created authority too. And this all happens within the GPMS instrument. Now, the instrument itself is only outline. It doesn't allocate the nuts and bolts for every cultural and societal difference, because that's where the people come together and they create their own societies wherever they are. under the instrument of GPMS. So this is a template instrument for the people to choose to re-envision the system, but including the law, including ownership of the structures, systems, and including the monetary system. It's not just financial. But what it does do then is, by putting the 99% in charge with benevolent administrations and these sort of concepts, and sticking in divine law as the basis, it's non-manipulable. It doesn't loop back into the old structures. So it's completely standalone, if you like, but utilizing the existing systems to push forward into the new. Hopefully that gives a little bit more of a rounded idea. We'll see.
Yeah, because this is a whole new concept, isn't it, for people to understand, and I know there are so many people out there ready for change that are not in alignment with what's going on. So yeah, so they just go on your GPMS website, and then it comes up, sign the treaty or sign, and then you've got the treaties there, haven't you?
The decrees. It's not. We've moved away from the word sign, Andrena, but we can use it. We know what we mean. We're using consent on there. It's just it's more of a consent. There's no treaty. There's no contract. There's nothing. It's just your voice. So all you're doing is you're putting on there, yes, I agree. And there's no. We've got an autograph box, but you can put a love heart in there, or a star in there, or whatever you want in there, because it's an autograph. It's not a signature. So there's nothing contractual about this. Some people have joined and then wanted to leave, and happy days. You can remove your consent. So there's nothing contractual about this. It's purely if you think that it's time for a change, and you don't want to. Let's say GPMS is not being done for the people; it's being done by the people. So this is not an offering or a fake promise that somebody's going to give you a thrift fund, or we're going to pay you a jubilee amount, and in 20 years' time we're going to loop back into the old system. This is the people coming together and saying, we think we can do better. We think that this system's not being run quite right, and you've had your time in charge. It's time for a change.
Yes. May I add? So it's important to materially collect and count the voice worldwide. That's why we have GPMS as a vote, or a vote of support. Without the support of the people worldwide, you do not have the change. You need the people to support the reality. So also with this is what we are doing. Reality exists because of frequency and vibration. I just wish to go in this direction for a few moments to explain what had occurred upon the planet. So, having said this, everything indeed is energy, it is vibration. Now, with sadness and stress, that is low vibration, which affects reality and creates similar things of negativity. And having said this, the control of money, it's not about money at all. It is about energy and creating the dense environment. And let's say the present ones that create money, they had a choice on how to distribute it. But let's say their agenda was to deprive ones of it and use it in nefarious ways, the control of money. And this is important. What GPMS does is, again, flips the tables, and it uplifts all of humanity, and it alleviates the stress, which is a density in vibration and frequency, and it changes the reality. So it's not per se about money. It's about that control of money and what it created. So what we are doing is eliminating the stress worldwide with this. There is no longer any financial stress going forward. As Lee said, we call this the inception, the comfort income, to immediately place every man, woman, and child into an immediate place of comfort, with the first payout of approximately $12,000 US to assure that everyone goes out, gets everything that they need, that their basic needs, but their comfort needs. So it's the next level above that. It's to assure that in the inception, in the beginning of it, and to place everyone in a place of comfort that eradicates the stress worldwide. But of course, even before inception, the stress is being alleviated. So it's giving humanity not only a new hope, it's giving them an actual material hope and realization that it is growing and that it is coming. So it's not a fantasy per se, it's not an illusion. It is the reality that is coming. And with this, each human upon the planet has the choice to make to support it. Do they wish the old or do they wish the new? And having said that, Jeff, on our website is the comparison page, that makes it easier for ones to make their choice of support. You have, I believe, 56 articles of the old, what they have, and then you have 56 articles of the new as a comparison. And it's I find this so effective with ones when they may have a little bit of doubt and want to know more. Go to this and you can see what you are voting for, what you are supporting, the new. And as anyone can see by looking at it, everyone upon the planet will choose it, especially the majority. And this is why it is the reality that's coming. So it's only a matter of collecting the voice materially to substantiate that it is a real voice and that it's a real choice by humanity. And with this, nothing, because of its, let's say, it's all inclusive plan, what this is, nothing can go against it. This is the most humane plan ever for humanity. And where I say nothing can go against it, even if governments exist prior to inception, they have no choice but to comply with it and what is in the people's best interests. So, where we are going forward, governments do not exist in the near future. There is no more politics and none of that. It is the humane administrative councils that are working in the full interest of the people. And the beauty with this as well, there is no profit or gain where anyone can be bought in this new system because each has the same. And also, there is no reason to profit when everyone has everything that they fully need. So it appeases all levels of what you have now, all levels of the classes, if you will. For example, you have the biggest class is the lower class of the people, which this fully uplifts them. But also with the middle classes, you have ones, let's say, that are in comfort. They have financially everything they need. But with GPMS, they have all of that. They keep it plus more. And also the stress that is taken off. Let's say if they have families that, have children growing up, uh, the children's future is guaranteed by the child's own self because what we do is we activate the intrinsic value of every man, woman, and child upon the planet. And that intrinsic value is unlimited. And you do not have any outside backing like gold, precious metals. None of that is required. Humanity has the choice to recognize their full value as an individual. And once you have humanity all come together, with that majority voice. This is why money is free, if you will, and it's used for the absolute good tool to move humanity forward into the humane reality out of what you have now. So I'll stop there.
Okay, I'll just jump in now. Hey, if we go back to Antwerp, the diamond mine, the diamond exchange, there's a guy called Elbrich there who was a private banker, and people would come in there, and the mayor would say to all these people who are traveling from around, Europe, I'd say, or even from Mongolia and places where diamonds are extracted. They said, "Oh, you can leave your possessions and you can leave your wealth with Elbrich. He's all right." So Elbrich realised that all these people were coming, and they weren't coming to collect their stuff. So he then realised he could issue promissory notes, and so he gave out promissory notes. So people would come borrow money from Elbrich, and he would give them a promissory note. So you go down the road to a local builder and whatever, and give them a promissory note from Elbrich, and they say, "Oh, yeah, Elbrich is good for the money." Elbrich didn't realise that he could keep issuing out promissory notes to the tune of, well, let's just say, do it 20 times, you know. And of course, he was a forerunner for the Rothschilds in the terms of factoring, and of course, the top 25 banks in London lent out that $40 times. So it's all about, they just created money out of thin air. So, and it's using zeros and all this stuff to populate it. So you're really suggesting that you're going to replicate that in the sense, there's the money, it's already in the air, it's in the ethers, we're just given a token value, here's an exchange of energy, off you go. So the question is, in today's world, instead of having mercenaries being hired to follow your stagecoach in case you're going to get knocked off by the Mujahideen or by Robin Hood, it's evolved over to checks, and from checks it's gone to cards, and now it's gone to crypto. How do you envisage people being able to tap into their 6,000 worth of whatever currency you want to call it as such, because it's going to be a global sort of form? How do they actually utilize that and then service that relationship when there's an exchange of goods and services? That's number one, first part of the question. But now I'm going to take you into the Star Trek series, where there was two particular strong episodes. One's a movie where it was First Contact, where the Borg had taken over, and they pulled up through a woman from the 20th century onto the ship, and she wanted to know where they got 800 meters of titanium. And he said, Captain Picard said, "We don't use money. Our whole belief system has changed to the point of a social fabric of consciousness where we look at what's good for the individual and how we've pursued it." So it's really a personal development. And of course, that's the main movie. But in one of the episodes there, they found a pod of cryogenic dead people who were shot out into space, like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, to say somewhere in the future they're going to have the technology to reactivate us and bring us back to life. And there was one guy who thought he'd be making a shitload of money because he'd been dead for 300 years and he'd be having all these assets, and then he was gobsmacked by being told that, sorry, there's no money there. It's a whole new way of life and consciousness. And so, but in those Star Trek things that Gene Roddenberry put together, it was about exchange, which was there was no hand over your credit card or your debit card or whatever. It was a case everybody came from a position of love. I mean, those are the two major questions I'm putting forward to you. Can you sort of unravel what I've just said to make it more easier for comprehend?
It aligns to what John's just asked as well. There's a question from John. How's an interesting one. We initially, what we haven't done is defined anything. So the exact house has not been defined because it's the people come together, and the best technology at the time for the inception of GPMS and the rollout for everyone. The people who would choose is the simple answer for this. The people would choose collectively what they want. Do they want cash money? Do they want digital money? It's going to be easier with digital money, and bank accounts just sending out a program, a few numbers, and everybody has access to the money. And society, the capitalistic or the corporate agenda is left in the past. as people move forward. How? I'm going to be interested to see myself in exactly all of this. But when we look at the love back thing, the energy back thing, this is the transition that we're talking to. So once the people choose to unlimit the stress, to take the boot off their neck and release this and start to live a different way, GPMS unlimits itself. So as we go forward, money becomes unlimited individually. It's not about how much they've got more than you and this, that, and we've all got everything. You can't take money off people. You can't tell the people that I'm not going to have money anymore, we're going to move into this society. People have to choose it. And in my mind, the way that people will choose it is by choosing to have abundance and then releasing the need for these old savage tools, i.e. money. But that's the transition. So when GPMS comes to inception, everybody moves into an area of comfort. How that happens exactly, well, we can put perspective to it and we can put discussions on it and we can come up with a concept. But then that moves into transition where comfort becomes new, and then energetic exchange becomes more valuable than financial exchange because there's no profit and loss. All essential businesses are funded. So anything that needs creating, any material, any food, any manufacturing is all fully funded by the local administrations or the country's administrations. So now there is the inflation, everything devalues, if you like, because there's no taxation and there's none of these regulations that create financial poverty or financial suppression upon the product. Everything that you need is funded. There is no cost to create. So then you get what you need, etc., etc. And this is the transitional period. How that happens culturally in society in every different country, it'll be slightly different. But it's inevitable that we come out of what is basically a deceit and deception, a manipulative system, into a truth and transparency system. And that system has to then involve what we would call equality or parity at least. So it's an interesting one as to exactly how. To answer John, what has to happen to bring in the new plan? The people unite, the voice is created, the energetic consent of that voice becomes overwhelming, and the majority rule vote takes over the systems. It's that straightforward. Who's going to pay the people? We are. What is it going to be called? I don't know. The people haven't chosen a name yet for the new currency. We haven't got quite to that point yet, so we're not defining any of that. The old currencies come in, they're on par value with the new, whatever's created, and anything lawfully owed to anybody else is redeemed. And this sort of moves forward. What's the vision of will the people create a bank? The bank's already there. The financial trading system and the financial marketing system is already complete. The quantum financial system is supposed to be coming out. That could be utilized. Should it be utilitarian? Again, the people haven't chosen that yet. So there's no reason to create new things for this. We just take control guardianship of the old and redesign them. And then allow the people to move forward with this. IT professionals and all the technical professionals will join, and they've got the answers for this. We don't need to put that in now and define it, because therefore by doing that, we'll limit what could be. Hopefully that answers some of that, Jeff.
I think that you're answering John as well, isn't you?
And John, sorry, both of you. Yes, a little bit of both.
If I may,
obviously the US dollar is controlled by the private bank called the Federal Reserve. So those guys, I mean, basically at the end of the day, when that bank was set up, the American government put up $100,000, and then the 7 money families just borrowed $100,000 from the 100,000. So there was 800,000 as liquid capital for them to start their so-called Federal Reserve, and then they just started printing the money. So, so really, all we're really taking away that 1% of the elites are saying we're controlling the world through this financial impediment, if you want to call it as such. We're putting you under a debt slavery, and you're coming forth and say, well, hang on, we just changed our thoughts here, and let's look at abundance, which basically we're saying that humanity have become masters of limitation. What you wish to progress, if I looking at it, is be masters of abundance. Would that be the thought pattern behind all this?
Yeah, I mean, humanity in general, there's a lot more deceit inside that financial structure than just them borrowing a fractional reserve banking in the way that the financial reserve was dominant. But every soul born is a beneficiary. They're by definition beneficiaries of all the credit they need. What the banks have done is taken that credit and created it into debt. So everybody born now is born into debt slavery. Well, if you're a debt slave, if you're already owing a government per se debt, then you're a shareholder in that government's debt. You are, therefore, you get all the shareholders sit back down together again and say, you're not running this right. And all of that around the world runs together and says, let's re-envision the whole thing. So there's a lot more deceit inside that financial system with regards to bonds, slave tradery, birth certification, for all sorts of different stuff inside of there. Certainly at the higher second echelons and third echelons of the banking structures, off ledger accounts, and the way they've manipulated scarcity. You were talking about diamonds a minute ago, and there's no scarcity in diamonds. They're abundant everywhere, yet that was faked into the human psyche that these need to be expensive. The same with gold. There's untold quantities of gold on this planet, yet we're told it's scarce and it's got a value. Of course, all of these values were manipulated by those in control, alongside the scarcity of resource, the scarcity of food, and this sort of idea. So the whole indoctrination process has been very. I doff my cap to the controllers, if you like, for the amount of deceit and the amount of manipulation. But it's been seen now, and now it's been seen. We can reverse or turn the tables on it all, and so from masters of limitation, which is what a lot of us have become, we can sort of choose to become masters of abundance. However much fear that puts into people's minds, and masters of our own prison cell into masters of freedom. Again, this sort of concept of completely inverting the old structures from what was to what will be, and that, in my mind, is inevitable as the people choose it.
Mm.
Yeah. If I may add, and let's say perhaps put a slightly simplified perspective on again what GPMS is doing. What we need to look at is the entire infrastructure on the planet, but namely, we need to look at the internet and the financial distribution system that is presently on the planet. But what we need to look at is who owns that and who controls it at this point. And this is important to look at it, because this is the financial distribution center, not center, method system. And also with this, I wish to now just quickly go to the US as an example. As soon as a child is born in the US, it's stamped with approximately that child with $67,000 of debt, which is ludicrous. But the point I need to make is that if, let's say, a government is able to put that illusionary debt upon a child, it's showing that that child, the second it is born, is a shareholder of not only the country US, but it's also a shareholder of the world. Now, this point is important, where it is establishing shareholder status to the individual, and this is prevalent worldwide. And it's because of this, if they're able to say you are an owner of debt, then it means you are an owner of all of the infrastructure upon the planet. So, with the voice that is collected with GPMS, is the majority of the people taking the rightful ownership of the internet and financial distribution methods. And this is how the funds is distributed. And as it was said, earlier, and as you have said, Jeff, they create money out of thin air by just typing numbers into a digital system. So, with the money being created for all the people, this is what occurs. The people takes the rightful ownership of the entire planetary infrastructure, namely the internet and the financial distribution systems already there. And that's how the funds get distributed equally. So what we do, you need to keep, let's say, a slight control method on the distribution of money in the beginning. And you need to do this because the world cannot just shut down if everyone had $1 million all of a sudden. There are goods and services that need to continue to keep humanity going forward. And with the inception of GPMS, that's why we say, okay, 12,000 US dollars for every man, woman, and child should put everyone in the full place of comfort and stress free to immediately get what they need. So, at that same time that each man, woman, and child has activated their own 12,000 US equivalent, all of the essential goods and services worldwide are also unlimitedly funded with whatever they need from the old system to keep producing the food and whatever else we need. So there is no limits on it. Now, having said this, what quickly occurs, why we have on the website when it drops from 12,000 initial payment to 6,000 approximately, and these are only relative figures we're putting in for simplicity's sake. But the reason it drops to 6,000 from the inception to the next month is because uh, during that first month and upon inception, you have a rapid deflation. What occurs? No longer included in your pricing indexes is wages, for everyone is paid by theirself. So that is eliminated. Also, let's look at perhaps your transportation costs of fuel or what have you. That is eliminated for the people own the fuel, and it becomes nonsense to include these expenditures in any price. So, and you can also see where, let's take a farmer that is growing bananas or what have you in South America. So that when that gets to your table, it is going to be a fraction of a cost to what it is because the farmer is paid by himself. He has more than enough assistants to work to assist him. They are paid by themselves. Also, it's an essential goods and services at providing food. So it has all of the money that it needs. So it does not have any expenditure or any overhead as well. So, what you also have, you're going to have many volunteers worldwide that are going to enjoy only needing to work a fraction of the hours that they worked before to assist at, let's say, growing food. Now, also, what you need to look at the biggest financial or the biggest employer or workforce of the planet is the financial industry. When that is no longer needed, when let's say a perhaps only two people can program and distribute the funds worldwide, you just have a huge workforce. I forget the numbers, but I believe within the financial industry and all of its attributes, there's way over 1 billion people. So immediately with that, you have a huge workforce that is no longer required. So you have ones now that did not need to work 40, 60 hours in the financial industry, in the trading and investments. That's no longer required. There's no reason to profit or gain. Then you have a huge workforce that is freed up there, not only within the financial sector, you also have the government sector and with the militaries, which is the next second biggest employer of the workforce upon the planet. When you have everyone working in harmony in community and there's nothing to fight for any longer, you do not need any militaries. So you have this huge other complementary workforce, with the financial sector. And this is one of the reasons why you do not need to work as many hours. Now, having said this, where money is not a factor any longer, meaning that within the manufacturing capacity, the money where it is no longer a factor, what occurs is with the manufacturing, they have everything they need to advance robotics and the technology forward. So the focus is put upon creating the technology that also allows for, let's say, robotics or whatever to do a lot of the work. And then this in turn cuts down again on the required amount of hours that one will need to do in the future. So the skill set to do all of this and all of the solutions to make this work, it's already upon the planet. It has been introduced more so over the last decade with all of the know-how and the structures to do it. So you don't need to define it. You know that all of the skill set is there to make this work beautifully when there is that one common goal and good intent to do so. So it is a beautiful thing. Just to expand on that a bit. So it is simple. What ones tend to do sometimes is to think with the mind and complicate it by looking at the old. The answers aren't in the old. You got to throw that entire old book away of the banking systems, the constitutions. It's a falsity and it no longer serves. So you just take that whole page or the whole book, throw it away, look at what you want to create new that is free for you. You have the choice, every man, woman, and child. And with this, with GPMS, as we collect the votes, the voice worldwide, a child 1 second old, their voice counts into this as well. And rightfully so, as I said before, if a government can stamp a debt on a 1 second-year-old child in the US of $67,000, then these children's voices need to be heard now, and rightfully so they can be. So GPMS recognizes that as well.
Well, in Australia, a child's born, the live birth certificate, the male's worth $70 million, and then the female's worth $30 million because they're the breeders, and that becomes the capital stock for them to go and do their leverage and set their interest rates. But most Australians are actually on the bond market. It gets sold. So majority of Australians are actually on a bond site called fidelity.com. So you can actually go in there and you can, if you know what you
Yeah.
I'm actually revealing stuff that's really not really said in the public. So when you do go there, you can actually find out how much you're worth to this, your current government.
Yeah,
That's just,
But if I may, Jeff, again, that was their money. Let's say the 1%. Yes, they traded people on the bond markets, and they would, within their economic structure, create money, because someone lived, and they would not give it to them. But again, what GPMS does, they can have that. It's their money. It doesn't matter if with your bond, if you're worth $1 million or 70 million, you never get it because it's their money that they use.
correct.
So don't waste time with it. We just all get together and we create our own money and distribute it equally and humanely. You don't need their money. And this is why I say, because GPMS is a real entity now, because it exists, that 1% nefarious, if you will, and controllers, they have lost all power. They do not have any power left. So we are in this transitioning. As they lose power and lose their support, it is built within the majority voice of the GPMS. And this GPMS is imminent. Nothing can stop it. And I need to say also, I don't need to, but I will. I would not be sitting here today speaking about this if I was not sure of what was going on. And I am sure because I do speak with God, with Prime Creator. And it's what I'm upon the planet to do, to be one of the guardians. But I'm also reminded by Father that I am not alone. There are many more of us upon the planet, including everyone on this show today. And this is the way it's to be done. All of us here together to do it and take it forward. But having said that, I am only one guardian of GPMS. Everyone else also are. And then what we have is all guardians for humanity to bring it into inception. And daily, and just over the last few days, I'm so happy and grateful to share that we are seeing more of these higher consciousness ones that know why they are upon the planet, their life's purpose, and their mission are beginning to join and recognize that this is it. This, if you wish to go into an esoteric or even a religious look at this, and even within the prophecies, it's all been written. This is the time. This is the deliverance for humanity. And this is the ultimate solution to do that. So we are going to the heaven on earth scenario. This is the deliverance unto that and into it. And this is the providence. Humanity's prayers, let's say for millennia, has been answered because this exists. And it's easy just to make the choice while you're in the physical here and take everything forward.
Hey, in business, it's worldly recognized that the first generation create the business, the second generation expand and take it to another level, and the third one goes and spends it. Yeah. And so when you start looking at organizations and structures, that seems to be a humanity's trait. So when someone like yourselves as guardians come forth, you got to then nurture the second generation, and obviously got to start looking after the third generation, because then's when it all falls over, isn't it? Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Mm-hmm. And that's where we're at. We're in the time also of super consciousness. Humanity is evolving into a super consciousness, a higher consciousness state. And with that higher consciousness comes the more absolute choice and the more most sensible choices to make. You know, they have seen enough of the last, let's say, 2,000 years, if you will, how nothing works and it only created misery. So, with that, the super consciousness and with what we call the Great Awakening worldwide, it's not by accident, it's not random. There is more of a design with it to facilitate this transition with GPMS. And it's all divinely oriented for this great time. And that's why I sit here certain on what I say. And it's also why I am here today to openly speak it. There is nothing that restricts me from doing it. And believe me, I know about the remnants of darkness, and there is nothing they can do. So,
Hey, we've had other individuals. I'm going to give the Australian example. We had LETS, local employment training scheme, where people would network and work together, and there'd be a financial benefit, or there'd be one of services or paying it forward. So those infrastructures got started. They had a credit union up at Malani on the Sunshine Coast. But generally speaking, and then in West End, which is really bohemian, a bit like Glastonbury over there in the UK. So it starts with the initial inertia of the first generation, but sadly it sort of diminishes. Then we saw another bunch of individuals who set up barter card as an exchange of services, and they gave you $20,000 of barter money to start the business, and then you would then trade amongst all those people. And you then found out that the tax department would step in and say, okay, well, we treat that as a dollar for dollar. So in the end, there, whatever bartering you make, you got to pay us 30 cents in the dollar tax. So then you saw that the level of barter card money was in fact negated by the fact that people would sell their barter dollars before the end of the financial year at anything over 30 cents to pay their tax bill. So the interesting concept here is that every country has its own currency. So what you're really saying is that we're going to create a global currency, that can be intermingled and shared amongst everybody. People who can see crypto with Bitcoin can see that concept as well. So am I on the same page here with what you're trying to get through as a universal exchange of energy for people who wish to become members who just in exchanging their goods and services through the GPMS?
It's close, Jeff. I see a transition. So I see that there's going to be not friction, but there's going to be a period of time where you're moving out of the old into the new, if you like. Whether that comes with a full exchange of services through energy and that sort of system, or through the use of the new money or the old money into the new, it doesn't really matter. But the change to an energetic sharing, if you like, or an open source sharing through energy is inevitable. We've been asked about different currencies for different countries, and my question back was, why do we need that? Is that what we would choose if we had control and we were sat down at a table and every single country had membership there, and they said, right, what are we going to do? Create a currency each, or should we create one for ourselves? I look at this nice little example of 20 people on a desert island. What would we do as humans with each other? Would we create an individual currency for each of us? Would we create a government to rule us, to authority over us? Or would we create a financial system that allows for some to be rich and some to be poor on that desert island? I don't think the human psyche ever gets to that point. So how are all these systems in place for us now? Were they chosen or were they imposed? Did we adapt to them?
Oh, yeah. Lord of the Flies is a very good example of what happens when you're on a deserted island.
Only if you believe the story that Lord of the Flies told, right? Again, the narrative of the Lord of the Flies, and I can't remember who wrote it, and who and what the information was from that was coming in. I think about it ourselves. I've done this experiment chat with many people. 20 people on a desert island. What would it become? Allow your mind to go through that and see what time, at what stage you would import these systems that we've got apparently in civilization now. I'm not so sure. We'll see what transpires. But the move from a monetary system into a more energetic exchange, value based on different things as opposed to cost, or supposed worth based on scarcity, possibly, which isn't there. So the control of the resources and the control of the shipping and the control of the movement of resources is all owned by the same people. So all of these things, once they start to open up, does value then become reassigned? Is the value on the benefit as opposed to the profit? Again, with the whole structures that we've got a lot of superfluous industry out there just to keep people on the hamster wheel. We've got a lot of superfluous stuff going on. The biggest question, one of the most ones we get asked, well, who's going to collect my rubbish? If everybody's got money, nobody's going to do that job anymore. Well, the question you've got to then ask is, well, if you don't want to do it, how you're expecting somebody else to do it for you, and now giving everybody abundance and you're worried about your rubbish being collected? Isn't there a better way of dealing with this collectively, as opposed to having a menial task involved with it? And these sort of concepts need to be looked at, and will be looked at as the truth of what was becomes undeniable to the public eye. But in the interim, those that can already see it, foundationally should be, in my mind, or not should be, will be uniting to create the foundation for the new. So as the populace gets to the idea that something needs to change, this is there for them, and the vote and the referendum is there for them. It's not being done for them, not have self-appointed leaders or authorities. There's nobody owns GPMS, it's the people's. There's nobody in charge of it. There's no shareholders, no business model. There's no marketing idea. This is just completely voluntary. So the whole thing about GPMS is absolute organic. and we create it. And that's the simple, that's as easy as I can make it. The people of the world create GPMS.
Okay, so I've got one more question for the third dimensional world. So for our listeners, dealing with 3D, before we move into the 5D stuff. With people wishing to find out how they're going to exchange goods and services, we've actually seen on our radio show a gentleman from Indonesia who led a massive meditation in the city of Jakarta, which has 20 million people. And he arranged 1 million people to come down into the square and meditate for a couple of days. And they had a guy called President Suharto, who was basically a dictator. And that 1 million people in a meditation state of bringing peace and harmony saw a transition take place where, bang, 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 the other guy came in without any major dramas. It was really interesting how people shifted from that three-dimensional by bringing in that energy and moved it out of that density. And so if we now move from that third dimension into the fifth dimension, where we've seen the concepts of the Celestine prophecy, where people who raised their vibration into love couldn't be seen by the South American or Chilean military, but when they dropped into their fear, they came back into this vibration. We've got guys over there in the Himalayas and Tibet and Shambhala and Shangri-La, the masters of the Far East, who raise their vibration to a point that they move further than that dimensional concept. They don't have money. They can actually manifest housing. They can manifest food, manifest clothing. They can raise their vibration and walk through fire. Or they can walk across water. I mean, they can teleport. I mean, shouldn't that be the incentive for mankind to be masters of abundance?
Absolutely, Jeff. Listen, once we start getting into that, then yeah, that brings open a whole new conversation, and that's what GPMS is imminent. And it's so wonderful. I just wanted to answer John on his question about the cars. GPMS vehicles is essential. People need to travel, whatever vehicles they are. So vehicles become, how would you pay for a new car? The new car's given to you. The new cars are built for the people. It's an essential service. So these sort of concepts of who do I need this? This is a little bit it's coming out of the old into the new, and how do we bring the old with us? We don't. We leave the old as is. So cars, housing, and essential needs, they're funded for people when they need them. Is there going to be a smallish transition to that point where everybody gets one? Yeah, of course there is, but it's not going to be long. It doesn't need to be long. So we just go from what was, who do I pay for this and where do I get that, to this is essential. It's just what is there. And that mentality switches then. So as we can release who do I pay for this? Who's going to make that? Who's going to collect this for me? Who's going to do that for me? Everything that's needed is done. And we do that benevolently through collective decision, administrations, and these sort of concepts. So all of this is there. Does money accumulate? Money's infinite. If you need to accumulate it, if you don't spend enough, it's still infinite. It doesn't matter whether it accumulates or doesn't. Again, these concepts will move as the transition moves.
Can I answer John's question? I don't know if you guys in the Netherlands there or the UK, we've got those e-scooters, and they're just anywhere in the bloody street, and you just go there and you tap, boom, and off you go. And then wherever you want, you just leave it there, and then someone else comes along, taps it, and they use it. So, I mean, cars, for example, could be done on the same basis. Basically, there's 168 hours in the week. You're probably using your car, unless you're commuting, probably 30 hours of the whole week, in which case, the time it's not being used, somebody else could be using it. Just tap and go.
Yeah. Everything's going to look different. The thing is that we're trying to bring the past into the new. We're trying to bring the old into the new and maintain the old as if. The concept of sharing, the concept of multi-use stuff, where there's no, you don't need to own a car. It's not a figment of prestige anymore. It's not this, I've got one, you haven't, you're not working. It's just, it become mundane. You just get in a vehicle and you move, and it's just that, that just becomes the norm. It's going to be interesting, as I said before, looking back in 20 years or maybe 10 years time, and see how did we get through that? How did you even survive in that old system? And that Neanderthal, inhumane, barbaric system that people survived through. Wow. And then that concept will change ever so quickly.
Well, you do see the indigenous people, they're already leaders in this field, isn't it? Because as a collective, as a tribe, what's yours is ours. Basically everybody's sharing, isn't it?
The indigenous is beautiful, but again, the indigenous. I'll put this out to people, and take it or leave it. The over the last year, the amount of devalued non-worthiness inside the individuals that we've spoken to, even with the indigenous, they value their communities, and they would love they'd be first to step out, but they still there's a lack of belief, if you like, that abundance and freedom can be taken. It's the government won't let us, and these sort of concepts is there. Of course, what we're trying to say is that empowerment, and that is our actual birthright. This is our birthright, abundance and freedom. It's not that we need to go and fight somebody for it. We just choose it. It becomes that. And of course, the indigenous are already a lot further up that ladder, if you like, than the indoctrinated.
If I may,
Go.
Yeah, if I may add to that, the indigenous peoples of the world are so important for they held on to that important foundation of the sovereignty in the least that we needed for this time. So they have set and maintained that foundation for all of humanity to expand upon. So around the world, what you have is many versions and many sovereign groups, and most of them are the indigenous peoples. And again, this is so important in this great time of unity that these groups also unite all together as one voice with GPMS, and we take everything forward. For GPMS would not be here as a choice at this time if it was not for that sovereignty base that was maintained by the indigenous peoples worldwide. So it's been instrumental what they did. And again, it is not by chance that they maintain that presence that can be, let's say, very quickly realized and recognized worldwide by the people of the absolute value that it contains. So it is also the fuel, if you will, for the GPMS vehicle. It is the base, it is the foundation. And with the simplified law, divine law, natural law, whatever you wish to call it. And that's what carries everything forward. We don't need stringent policy and stringent laws, restrictive laws. When you look at all of the legal structures, they are comprised with the intent to make money. They are cash cows because they're about control. You don't need all of that in the new, and you can keep everything simplified and oriented towards the best interest for humanity. And this is also why all of these legal systems and structures that are actually null and void worldwide, with all of it at this time, it's not part of the future. And one of the things ones believe they need a constitution. You can, if you wish, have a worldwide constitution, something written. But again, really, you don't need anything written. Your constitution is within the seat of your soul, is in your heart. You know the morals and the ethics. So you don't need anything written. The only reason why anything was written in that respect in the past, because again, it was an illusion and it was an instrument of the nefarious control upon people, and also to create the separation, the individuality of the different countries, which again was separation. And with GPMS, we bring the whole world all together and we eliminate it eliminate anything that separates the people. There are no borders any longer, and the people have the free migration upon the planet and to share. And upon the planet, if you take the entire population, it only takes up, if you had them in all one space, it takes up about 1% of the land upon the planet. So you can see there's 99% that can hold a lot of people and space them out. So again, it is a falsity when anyone says that this planet is overpopulated. That is a full-fledged lie.
And I think now people, with the division that's happened over the last couple of years, which has been horrendous, but people are now ready for change. People are realizing the lies and the deceit that's been going on, and it's opening up more and more is being uncovered little by little, but people are like waking up to what really is going on now. And I think so many more people are ready for change to make a difference. So totally on board with what you're saying, and it's, you know, it's a wonderful concept. So for people is to go on the link and just sign, put in their name, do a signature, and that's all they have to do for their vote.
Yeah.
And share it.
Yeah. This doesn't get, it isn't something that's a fake promise. This doesn't get done without the people. The people choose it. So it could be done tomorrow if the people choose tomorrow. It's as long as it takes for the people to realize, if you like, and consent, choose, step into their power, unite together, cross borders, cross countries, release division, release separation, release nationalistic viewpoints. We're all human, if you like, or there's a human, you know, it's a human collective experience. So there's no nations necessary, but even the patriot idea and this nationalistic idea is a creation of division. So there's separation and creation of that separation throughout. And it's all government manipulation or control manipulation. I'm not going to say government, it's way above that. But so the puppeteering has been going on for a long, long time, creating division and separation throughout in the mentality and the belief. I mean, the financial debt system is held up on the people's belief that it exists. The government structure is held up on the people's belief that it's got authority. All of these are lies. They're fake. They're fiction. There is no debt. There is no authority. But these are held up on the belief by the people. As the people start to realize that that belief may have been misplaced, where do they put that belief then? Do they put it into somebody else's hands, or do they put it into their own hands? And again, these sort of concepts for me are the inevitability of the truth coming out. The people have no choice but to unite and put the belief in themselves. The ones that can step into positions of so-called leadership will, but those leaders are benevolent now. A leader needs followers. A good leader creates leaders out of the followers, and therefore, by definition, stops leading when everybody else is a leader. The older leaders, the malevolent ones, require followers and create and use that over with intimidation and fear tactics, as we've seen. So intimidation and fear have been prevalent. Somebody just put in the chat about trauma. Well, again, trauma has been prevalent. Rick explained a little bit earlier about the energy of trauma and where that sits. Of course, that creates oppression and suppression of the populace. Add in all the division, add in all the other things that are there, and we go nowhere. We stagnate very, very quickly, and that's where we've been. And deceptions run rampant. Self-services run rampant, and these sort of concepts, power has run rampant. We need to have a little look at that, I think. And again, I use the word need. We don't need to, but we will have a look at that and rethink that. And that's where GPMS sits.
And the thing is, we are all one. You know, a lot of people don't get this, but we are all one. We are all connected. And it's all about us working together as one to make the difference, to be the new world, to walk our talk, to dream the new dream, and bring it into being now. And
that's the beauty of the unity. So this won't be done without that unity, without the people realizing this and joining together as one. And when they, you know, so all of the GPMS concept is about that unity and the people realizing and coming together. to re-envision and redesign the whole system, or the whole environment, let's say, the experiential environment that we're in.
So we're still working on the 3D world. So in this form of transition to the fifth dimension. So the key to it seems to be artificial intelligence, to be able to have, obviously, cloud-based systems for exchanging funds between individuals. So that would mean then it requires power and security. Make sure if it does go down, I mean, if it goes down, that's it. No.
We're not, to be honest with you, Jeff, at this point, we're not envisaging ideas around fear-based outcomes. The new energy systems and those sort of concepts that are suppressed, once they're imported in place and non-suppressed, these systems don't go down. The security idea of redundancies and this sort of concept is something that will be dealt with. I'm not going to say it's mute. It's not mute. It's something that will be discussed, but it's not something we need to implement once the newer, let's say, technologies are realized again. So artificial intelligence, again, there's a lot of woo about that, a lot of difficulty with people about AI, but AI is useful when it's benevolent. It's the way it's used, the same as all the other structures. They're used benevolently. There's nothing wrong with the structure. It's the way it's being used. So AI can be used and security or redundancy put into place, but this will be a collective decision. Again, it's not something that we speak to necessarily with regards to it now to define what could be or possibly be. It's more, for me anyway, an organic approach to that. Let's see what pops up when the experts come in with this, and when the let's say more benevolent fifth dimensional technology is realized or brought to the fore, if you like. That would be my answer to that at the moment, Jeff.
Well, that's why I mentioned 3D. So
and the 3D is difficult.
Well, you got in 3D, you're always looking for weaknesses, isn't it? I mean, just have a look at Manchester United. You know, hello,
yeah, I do with glee.
And we had to go to Netherlands to go to get Ajax guy. So, so moving across into the fifth dimension. I mean, obviously, where Rick's coming from, he had this utopic voice, understanding, concept of dealing with Prime Creator, where he's got this insightful epiphany, and as a result, he's obviously shown that there's a number of sentient beings in the fifth and probably higher dimensions there. All he has to do, and all we individually have to do, is just put that telephone call in and say, excuse me, we want your help and assistance to make this manifest. Would that be all we have to do? I mean, there's a big secret army there, and a big silent army ready to be brought to the forefront. All you got to do is ask, isn't it?
Yeah, with that, what I'd like to say, it's more than an epiphany. It is direct contact with Prime Creator and knowing what was occurring upon the planet. So upon that moment, there is no fear, there is no doubt left within the individual. It is the absolute knowing, if you will. And having said that, you will find, if you're to go and do a search, you will find there are more and more individuals upon the planet that are also hearing the voice of God, Creator, if you will. And so it's becoming more prevalent, because it's also indicative of this time, Jeff, and what you said and what I had said. It's not to be done alone. There is a lot more, and they're already upon the planet and ready to facilitate this. There is a divine timing with growing the voice of the GPMS. And that divine timing is the rate of the destruction of the old, which needs to occur. So let's say if the 3D world, it needs to be compressed and pressured to make a choice for the new. So that's all divinely ascertained. And again, over the last 2 years, what has occurred worldwide, has greatly and most appreciably done this for us. So it is. So everyone is divinely as well upon the planet to facilitate this. So everything is guaranteed. What is not fully guaranteed is the time that it takes to get to the full inception. But what I can say is that um, things are accelerating. And what you mentioned before, Jeff, the power in Indonesia with the 1 million, what they were doing. It's very important to understand that with GPMS, that you do not need 3, 4, 7 billion in alignment with it. It is so powerful for what it is that once you reach, let's say, um, perhaps 3 or 4% of the world population, that is more than enough to set it into rapid propulsion into fruition. So you only need the what would they call it, to lead the herd with it. I mean, it is absolute common sense what GPMS is, meaning that it is very easy to make the choice. And having said that, we even, the children today are so ingenious and advanced in the higher consciousness, but we've even had children on their own accord that have and wanted to consent to GPMS. One young gentleman, Spain, he was 7 years old. Perhaps he's 8 now, but he was one of the first children that wanted to do it himself. So it is beautiful.
And it's like we're all seeds. We're all planted in different parts of the world, all around the planet, coming together little by little, aren't we? And those are awakening. We're here to help those that need some assistance at this time with all the changes that are going on.
Absolutely.
So how are you getting your message out? Because obviously you're doing talks like this, you're coming on shows. And I know, Rick, you're very active on your Facebook page with different things that you put up. So is that the following through Facebook and people finding your website and word of mouth?
Yeah. So again, as we collect the voice, each individual is an equal member of GPMS, like I, if you will, and it's up to each one's guidance to share it in their own way with as many as they choose or not. Just put everything is correct with that. So we just keep getting the word out of the choice and spreading the awareness of it. So yeah, I'm on Facebook with my name, my real name, Rick, and I'm fully transparent, as anyone can see, and that's important with everything going forward. I just wished, I know we're getting close to the end, but I just wish to say that everyone over the last 2 to 3 years that have been protesting, that was instrumental in making a statement. But it's important for all of you to know that the statement has been made, that it's also time to unite. You can keep up an opposition, but also you need to have one foot into the unity. For the ones you're fighting against have no intentions of giving you what you want. So you can look at it now as a waste of time. It's not a waste of time, but it's a waste of time to continue with that. It's most sensible and most logical now to unite. And if we look at Australia, really, you had millions of people uh, asking what, 1 or 2 people to give them their rights. Look how ridiculous that is. You got a million asking 1 or 2 people. It's most logical, just unite the million and create the new world and the new system that is free. And you don't even need to contend nor waste time with the 1 or 2 that never had any good intentions to give it to you. So this is the most absolute common sense worldwide at this time for all of these, that we're making this beautiful statement, that we're instrumental in awakening so many others by having the huge presence in the street. It has done its beautiful work. It was totally pertinent, but now is the time for everyone to recognize the unity and do not be into politics. These things do not serve. They are not for the humanity as a whole. They are for self-centered interests, and it's where ones get bought off and manipulated. That is not the way forward.
To add to what you were saying, Andrena, the way there is no marketing team, there is no marketing budget, there is no budget in GPMS, there is no business type model. So it is all about volunteers and how much one will spend time developing or giving the GPMS to others. So we've had organic creation of TikTok videos and all sorts of other sort of media creations, and everything's brilliant. It gets posted and then it gets shared. It literally is that organic approach to this where you do what you will. But it's not being done for you. There are no teams behind GPMS. We haven't got an IT team. We're desperate for somebody that can help us with the website. We haven't got anybody that can do that. We haven't got, it's not a business model. So anybody looking at GPMS as if there's a team or a group or a building full of people that are running GPMS, it's not the case. It's us. It literally is us, doing these videos, doing these interviews, chatting to people, talking to whoever around the world, and everybody else doing the same thing in their own way. And as more come in, more get spread. I think you get the concept.
Yeah. So no, it's all volunteer.
Go on.
No, I was going to say all volunteer basis, and everyone adds all the resources together. Thank you, Andrena. I just wish to say that.
No, it's absolutely fine, because I know I shared it to lots of friends and they've all shared it and they've all signed. So, it's just taking its own momentum. We haven't got to pray that it goes out or it just goes. End of story.
It's been an interesting year.
Yeah, year, 2 years.
Well, no, on GPMS, since GPMS was live, it's been an interesting year with something that feels so simple and such an obvious choice, to come up against all of the reasons why not, or why this is better or that won't work, and this sort of concept. It's been interesting, but nevertheless, we've gone through it. We've lifted consciousnesses, we've changed conscious gaps, if you like, and through that year of talking through all of these things, we've put many different perspectives out there because of the different questions that were coming in. So we have a YouTube channel where we've done interviews. There's a few on there that give perspective from different individuals on their point of view of GPMS, because my perspective is mine, Rick's is Rick's, GPMS is the people's, and everybody's perspective is correct. So it's just how they see it. And as we progress, we bring all those perspectives together, and of course that answers all the questions. But we've all got the pieces of the puzzle. We've all got pieces and bits and pieces, and when they come together, we get the full picture. And that's the beauty of the unity. So yeah, when you're talking to on the phone or to the higher consciousness ones, and they can unite, that's the foundation. When we speak to those that are already there, it's such a different conversation. And it's one that we enjoy so much. It amplifies the energies so quickly. Other conversations are different. Let's call it different.
And you also got a Telegram channel, haven't you, Rick? I'm on it, but I don't really know how to work Telegram. But anyway, that's another story. But you've got a very active Telegram page as well, haven't you?
Yeah, it's Rick Jewers official channel, and I put out information. I'm also an ascension guide, if you will. So the information I put out varies and reflects my divine tasking upon the planet, if you will. So I assist on the individual level, as well as the collective GPMS. So, yeah.
Brilliant.
We've also got a GPMS
my own name.
There's also GPMS Telegram. So the majority of the GPMS collaboration is on Telegram, because it's the least censored, and it was the least censored going back a while, and it was a place where we could connect without being banned and and all of these different ideas. It worked. It worked. Okay, people might not use it. It might be relatively new to them. But to us, it was a place that we could actually center and have a communication that seemed to flow, So yeah, there is that too. We've got contributors groups. We've got private group on Telegram for those who have volunteered their time. And we've got an open group for the public to jump in and ask their questions. And we try to, again, because it's all volunteer work, we try to keep on top of it all and answer as much as we can and keep the communication and collaboration going.
For any humanitarians in the least, if you will, and anyone that wishes to be a part and unite with GPMS now, as Lee was speaking about, on our website we have Get Involved, a green tab, and it's there that you can fill out a contributors form, and then we leave you into a group where you join others, and we come together and unite and look at how we share the word. But also importantly, what's been occurring is we have also set up individual country teams that are all connected to the one main contributors team. And within the country teams, you have representatives that are taking on their own ways at distributing the information, assisting with getting one's conscientious of what is occurring, and also of their choice with GPMS. And with that, Thailand has set the precedent of how they did it, how to get the word out more quickly and effectively to the people. And they've done such an amazing job. And when you look at the website, you will see on the counter, I believe, are over 13,000 have consented from Thailand, which is many children as well. But in our last interview meeting with Thailand, they have instructed us that GPMS is now, the concept is being introduced and beginning to be taught in the schools there. So it is the new world. And the youth there that know about GPMS are very happy and excited. And so
that's
again,
brilliant.
Yeah, it's a micro indicator
brilliant.
of what is occurring around the planet. So.
Fabulous. Yeah, love it. Right. So is there anything else you'd like to share before we go?
Is there any questions? I'm not sure. Is there any questions?
I know if there's any more questions anybody would like to ask.
This has been pretty lengthy, and I'm great with it. And
sometimes, is there a dumb question that we should have asked you? Really?
Yeah.
Never a dumb question. Never. Everything has
covered quite a bit without digging in. I think we've covered quite a bit without digging in.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, I thank you both so much. It's been been amazing, because, like I said, I didn't know very much, but now you've opened up my awareness even more, and lots of our listeners. So all I can say to everybody is go on the GPMS link and sign up and get your friends to share, and let's let this ripple out and just go and go and go.
Let's create the new.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Andrena. Thank you, Jeff. It's been an absolute pleasure. My love to you all.
No, it's been lovely. Thank you both.
Thank you both as well, and thank you, Lee, brother, for joining. And it's been a beautiful show, and we are so grateful. And woohoo! The new world is there.
It is.
All right. Let's get that operator on the phone line. Prime creator.
Yeah.
Okay. Rightio. Thank you for that. And we'll just end the broadcast here, and then we'll get back into the studio and we'll keep you in the loop. Thank you very much.